Hello, everyone, and welcome. We have 5 people on, and I'm sure that more people will be jumping on. And I am Cheryl Gould, your host, if you don't know me, the founder of Moms of Tweens and Teens. And I am very excited you're here. I am so passionate about what we're going to be talking about tonight, because if I had have known when I was parenting my oldest, who's now 29, when she was a tween, if I had have known what I am going to share with you tonight, it would have made a huge difference, and it would have honestly, it would have saved us so many power struggles and arguing, and the way I was reacting to her, I would have reacted so differently if I had have known these things. So I would love for you to just type in the chat. We're going to be using the chat tonight. Jen Keel, my business partner, is she's going to be running the chat tonight. And if you want to introduce yourself, if you want to type in there the ages of your kids, that's always helpful to me. If you want to type in there some of the challenges that you're having. And at the end, if you stayed at the end, I will be answering your questions. And I am anticipating that this is going to go about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and then we'll do a time of Q&A. So I'm really happy you're here, and I am going to dive in. I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint tonight, and you are going to get, don't worry, you don't have to take notes, because you are going to get all the information that I am going to be sharing tonight. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you, and then after it's done, I am going to come back and you'll see me face to face. You're going to see my face in a little square. But I want to know who of you out there, hi, oh, there's Jen. How many of you out there feels like you have an alien that has moved into your house, where one day you woke up and it felt like your child had changed considerably, or maybe they were talking, then all of a sudden now they stopped talking and they're not talking as much, or now they're moody and they used to be so sweet, and now you think, what is going on? Hi, Michelle. Hi, Virginia. Okay, yeah, so, and you're driving. I'm so glad that you're here, and you have a son that's 15. Hi, Michelle, 3 kids, 23, 20, 16. So exciting. And then during this time, you can put questions in, and then I'll get to them at the end, okay? So if you think of something while I'm sharing, hi, Erin, then, and 4 kids. Oh, this is awesome. So when you think of it, just put it in, because I know if I don't put the question in right away, then I can tend to forget it. So who has a moody tweener teen here? Or one that loves you one minute and doesn't want to have anything to do with you the next? Or who has a kid that is totally messy, like they have a backpack that is exploding with papers? So I really want you to know during this time when you leave that you feel less alone, and you know that your kid is normal. What you're experiencing is normal. So I'm just going to share my little screen with you. Excuse me. We're having a heat wave here in Chicago, and my air conditioning, if I'm like sweating, it's because my air conditioning is not working well, and I had a fan blowing on me before, but I turned it off. It was too noisy. Okay, so let me see here. Okay, perfect. I'm going to share. So who feels like this? I love this dog. I thought, oh my gosh, this is perfect. Who feels like this? They're just exhausted, overwhelmed, trying to understand what is happening. So understanding, tonight we're going to talk about the importance of understanding your tween and teens brain development. They have done recent research, and they are finding out so much about the tween and teen brain. We're going to be talking about understanding their development at this phase in their lives. What is actually going on and why are they acting the way they do? And we're also going to talk about their world, the stressful world they live in, and how that can impact their behavior and the choices they make as well. The more that we can understand our tweens, our teens, our kids, the better able we are to support and guide them. So this is my oldest when she was a tween, and this is us on vacation in Canada. And who here has seen this face before? You can raise your hand, say me too. This was when she was about 12 or 13. I love it. It's like all the raised hands are coming down. This is my son back then, and my youngest, Lily, who is here. I'll get my little cursor right here, and she is now 19. And I said something to her, and she was like, oh my gosh. So who here gets the eye roll? So I am right along there with you. I have experienced all these things myself. And here's Jen, and she's handling the chat, and this is her son, and he is now 13, and don't you love his face there as well? And don't they just love when you take pictures of them? It's like trying to get them to take a picture can be like pulling teeth sometimes. Okay, so tonight, I covered this a little bit, but you're going to be finding out, we're going to be talking about the latest research and what's actually going on with their tween and teen brain. And you're going to be able to start making sense and understanding in deeper ways how they think and why they're acting and behaving the way they do. And I'm also going to share 5 keys. There we go. I'm going to share 5 keys that can help to break the brain code and how you can support your child and meet their developmental needs and guide them. And I promise you, and I can actually say this from experience, from coaching and working with moms, when you put these 5 keys into practice, you will improve your relationship with your kids. You will bring out the best in your adolescent. And honestly, this isn't just, what you're going to learn tonight isn't just used with your adolescent. These are principles that we can use in all of our relationships, and it is transformative. So I'm going to just say a little bit about myself, and these are some of the places that you can find me, that you can find moms of tweens and teens. And you can also find us, if you're not familiar with our website, it's momsoftweensandteens.com. And these are some of the podcasts that I've been on and some of the places that we've been published. So just want you to know that there are other places that you can find us as well. And we're really proud of that. So I'm a parenting educator, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm a group facilitator. I'm writing a book right now that's called You're Not Crazy, You're Not a Bad Parent, and No, Your Teen Really Doesn't Hate You. And I am also the founder and executive director of Moms of Tweens and Teens. And what is so exciting, when I had used some of this for another PowerPoint, and it said 20,000. That was 2 months ago. Now it's 26. So we are growing. Why? Because there is such a need for support with kids this age. We can tend to feel so alone. We can tend to feel shame. We don't want to embarrass our kids by talking about it. Maybe it'll get back to them, or we're blaming ourselves. So we need the support. And so that is our mission here at Moms of Tweens and Teens. We want to provide a non-judgmental, compassionate place, and to know that the job that you're doing is the most important job you will ever have. And we want to support you and encourage you in that. And Jen, she's been working in digital media for 13 years, and it was amazing. It was like a miracle how I actually found her, and she really helps keep everything organized. She does everything with our website. She posts in our Facebook business page. And she also is a founder of Beyond Blog Design. And she consults, manages, and trains businesses. So she also, I mentioned before, there's her son Isaiah, and she has a wealth of expertise dealing with technology. And we actually have done quite a bit on technology. So if you're interested in any of that, email me, let us know, and we can share that with you, because she's going through that right now with her 13-year-old son. So I love the name of my book that I'm writing, because we can feel this way. We can feel crazy. We can feel like we're failing. Who here doubts themselves? I don't know one mom that I work with that's in one of my groups that I talk with that does not doubt herself. So if you are doubting yourself, if you feel like you don't know what you're doing, if you feel like you're failing, you're a bad parent, just know you're not alone in this, that we're all feeling this way, because we're all trying to navigate this new terrain. And not only that, we've got technology now. And we never learned how to do that, because we're the first group of parents that are dealing with this. So some of the behaviors, and if you want to write down in the chat what you are experiencing, or if you want to say, yes, this is me, because it really helps me too. If you put in the chat, then I kind of have an idea of what people are dealing with. But they can be moody, right? Disrespectful, grumpy. They can be impulsive. Who here has said, "What were you thinking?" to their kid? And it's because we said, "You're not thinking." And you know what? You're exactly right. They're not thinking. And we're going to talk about that. They can have very risky behavior. I was just checking because that was beeping in case Jen was contacting me. They can be forgetful, disorganized. It's so funny because in our community, if you're not a part of that, reach out to me. It's Moms of Tweens and Teens. It's a private community. Moms are posting all the time about their kids' messy rooms. Like there's rotten food, you know, they go in there and it's just like, oh my gosh. It's just like entering this zone where they're plugging their nose and everything is just a mess. And they can be a roller coaster of emotions. 1 minute they're happy, the next minute they're crying. So research in brain imaging over the last decade has helped us make sense of our adolescents' confusing behavior. And it also points to that they're not intentionally being impulsive, moody, emotional, forgetful, or acting like a 2-year-old. It's so helpful to know that. So these are a few things that I say to parents. And you're going to get these slides. And this is kind of something that you almost want to tack up somewhere where your kid can't see it to remind yourself of these things. Their brains and bodies are undergoing extensive reconstruction. I mean, think missing puzzle pieces. And these changes, they can be really confusing to us. They can be hurtful. They can make us mad. But they're very confusing to them as well. We're going to talk more about that. And they're trying to figure themselves out. They act like they know everything, but they're really struggling with figuring out, who am I? And they're also inundated with technology and pressure from all sides. Our kids have higher anxiety now, it's reported, than we do as adults, because there's so many different pressures. They have FOMO, which is fear of missing out. They are desperately wanting to fit in. They're asking, who am I? How and where do I fit? And they're going to try on different behaviors and personalities, especially in junior high. I remember in junior high, and if anybody relates to this, I wanted desperately to be popular. And we moved to a new school, and I remember paying attention to the lingo so I could use the lingo so I could feel cool and like I fit in. And then it was preppy was in, and I was trying to straighten my hair. It was a disaster. Farrah Fawcett style was in, and the Dorothy Hamill, I'm going to age, date myself. but it wasn't working for me. But I wanted so badly to fit in. So they're gonna try fads. They're gonna do whatever they can to try and fit in. And their recklessness, their rudeness, them acting clueless, it's not totally their fault. But it doesn't mean, and we're going to talk about that we sit back and we just blame their brains. We can guide them. There are some things that we can do to help them and keep our sanity. So what makes the adolescent brain unique? And I will add what makes them unique. Whoa. Where's my pointer? There. Well, their brain is fascinating. It is amazing because the amount of information now that they can absorb it's at its peak. They can absorb information like never before. It is incredible. I mean, and all of our kids are unique. They have different talents. They have different personalities. And during this time, you know, it's just this awesome time of discovery and exploration and experimenting. Sometimes not always the way that we want them to, but one of the reasons is because their brain is just, it's just so powerful and absorbing so much. So as I said before, this is fact number one. Think missing puzzle pieces. It is under construction and it is being rewired. So I didn't know this. I found this out in my research. The brain is the last organ in our body to mature. And it actually rewires. It starts in the back, and this is really important to know, and it finishes until they're about 25. It is not, in the front of their brain, it's not fully developed. So it starts here and it moves to the front. And these changes that they're going through, they're social, they're emotional, and they're cognitive. And also, this makes so much sense, is that the emotional side of the brain and the reasoning is not fully connected. And that explains a lot. So when I talk about this, is fact number two, the back of the brain is where the amygdala is. And has anybody heard about the amygdala? In recent years, when I used to share about this, many parents didn't know about it, but we're talking about it a little bit more now. So amygdala in this picture, it's a very small part of the brain, but that is the fight, flight, or freeze. It's very instinctual. And that is fired up. And literally when they do brain specs now, they can see this part of the brain. They show different colors in the brain, and it's fired up. It's very bright. And so this is their impulse control. This is why sometimes all of a sudden they're calm and they explode and say, "Leave me alone," you know, and you think, whoa, what just happened there? And this is, you know, they're in that flight phase where they, you know, they can just fight, or maybe they get paralyzed when they're doing their homework and something's hard. So that is the amygdala. And the last area of the brain to develop is the frontal lobe. And what do you think the frontal lobe does? Does anybody want to post in there? What do you think it does? It is the seat of our judgment, our insight, and our impulse control. So I want you to think about a race car with no brakes and steering. So the prefrontal cortex controls decision-making, problem-solving, judgment, self-control, and executive functioning. So how does this impact their behavior? Well, like I said, it's like a high-performance sports car. It's fast, powerful, but without the brakes and steering. And if your brakes have never, you know, if you've gone through that, where your brakes aren't working well, it's a little bit scary. And we can feel that way with our kids, can't we? And they're going to be overly emotional. It's like riding a roller coaster. One moment they're laughing, the next minute they're crying, one moment they're angry, and they're going to be forgetful. They're going to struggle with executive functioning and focusing, some kids more than others. And the risk-taking is lacking. and they're gonna make mistakes. And we just need to know that, like, oh, they're gonna make mistakes, right? And they're not gonna always connect that cause and the effect, but we can do things to help them. And finally, they're gonna lie. And I was just reading a study, tweens and teens, actually teenagers lie less than tweens. But the study that was done by, I believe it was University of Pennsylvania, found that 90% of tweens lie. From, no, I don't have any homework, or yes, I did that, when they really hadn't done it. So if your kid is lying, I just want you to know that that is not unusual at this age. So what can you do? Okay, great, Cheryl. This is all great information, but please just hurry it up and get to it and tell me, what do I do? All right, here are the 5 keys. So I want you to know, you need to understand that their needs are changing. So I made this little chart. So here I thought I'd split up some behavior that we can see. They can argue, they can disagree, talk back, messy. So many of these things I have talked about already. They fight. Who is going through that fighting? Like you're just kind of, you're like this, you're in this bad, you find yourself just butting heads because they're fighting with your rules, or they're actually breaking the rules and they're going against your boundaries. They can withdraw and be more secretive, and they want to be with their friends. And I find that talking to moms, we can get our feelings hurt because they seem like they don't want to be with us anymore. And they sneak around and they can lie, and they're on technology. I put more than we like, but I think most of us would say that alone can drive us batty. So what they want, the tweens and teens are wanting, this is what they want. They want the freedom to do what they want. And just know that they want what they want when they want it. Not only do we live in like a immediate gratification time, but they also, it's part of being a tween and teen that they want what they want when they want it. They want independence. To make their own decisions. They want privacy. Moms tell me how all of a sudden their kids used to leave open their door. Now they're saying, Mom, close the door when you leave, and they close the door. They want more time with their peer group. That becomes more important to them. And these are really important because these are like deep needs that they're not going to tell you and they're not going to verbalize. They need to know they matter. And we might not think that we're that important to them right now, but you know what? We are still the most important person in their life. And they need to know that they matter to us. And they need to know that they belong. This is a time of development where they're looking, where do I fit? I want to feel like I belong. And they really need to feel like they belong in our family as well. They need to voice and be able to verbalize what they think. And that goes with the disagreeing. They need to kind of, as they're saying what they think, even though we're saying it's black and they're saying it's white, and we clearly know it's white, and it just is like we can get in these arguments trying to tell them that they're wrong. They're processing out loud and they're trying to figure it out. And I'm gonna touch on this a little bit more. They need to be heard and understood. They need to be listened to. They need to be the expert. We say, gosh, they're such know-it-alls and they're the expert on everything and I'm wrong all the time. Who relates to that? They need to feel like the expert, and they need time and positive affirmation. They need to laugh and have fun, and they need us to cheer them on and to look for those things that they are doing well and to be their best fans. What we think they need, this can be a little different. We think we need to constantly remind them. We feel like we make demands, right? Like this needs to be done. And not that all of this is bad, right? Because our kids do need reminders. They need gentle reminders, but that can also drive them crazy. And sometimes we give them reminders because we don't want them to forget something. And so a little bit more on that. We think they need advice. and feedback to be corrected or set straight. And then we also feel like they need protection. And some of that is a good thing, but we also try to overprotect them from making mistakes. And we think they need responsibility, which I happen to agree with that. Strong ties to immediate and extended family, which I tend to agree with that. It's how we go about that that is what really matters. So there's a really significant shift happening. And I think this is really why it is hard to parent our tweens when they enter these tween years, because we have to adapt. All of a sudden, you wake up one day and it feels like an alien's living in your house, and we weren't prepared for that, and our job changes. And all of a sudden, what worked isn't working anymore, and that can be really hard. But just know we have to have some compassion for ourselves and our kids to know, okay, there is a shift happening, and to be intentional about that, and to be mindful of that, and to think about, okay, what might that look like, and what do I need to be doing differently? So there's this push and pull going on of our kids wanting to be independent, but they still need us. And then there's a changing of our roles, where we used to be able to teach them, and now we are mentoring them. We have to let go more. As they get older, we let out that umbilical cord, so to speak, more and more and more, which is scary and hard to do. And we also need to stay connected. So how do we do that when it feels like our kids are pushing us away? So key number 2, and this might be one of the most important things that we can do, and one of the things that I see has made the most significant impact in my relationship with my kids, and that I see makes the most significant impact in the moms that I work with in their relationship with their kids. So we need to allow them to express themselves when they're upset. That doesn't always look pretty. That can be messy. We tend to, we don't mean to, but we can label emotions as good or bad. And it depends on your family. And I love to do a poll with moms and parents of what emotion was acceptable in your family growing up. I mean, what emotions were and what wasn't. My family, anger was not acceptable. Jen, I think you're okay with me saying this. Jen will share, like, sadness was not okay in her family. Sadness was fine in my family. So if my kids are crying, that's okay with me, but you express anger, and that was breaking a big family rule. So I had to get really more comfortable with my own anger, and more comfortable with my oldest, when she was a tween, expressing her anger, because I immediately thought she was being disrespectful. But they learn to manage their emotions by practicing. They learn to manage their emotions by us working with them. If we try to, stuff down their emotions, they are not going to learn how to handle their emotions in healthy ways. And as adults, we want them to learn how to work through their emotions and to be able to guide them in that. So they need us to listen more than anything else. So we need to, and I'm telling you, we feel so like we have to jump in and do something, but if we can just step back and just even go, oh, and just like make a sound, you will find your kids are going to start talking a lot more. It's kind of like they get like where they think we're going to say something, so they kind of withhold and they don't want to tell us because they think we're going to jump in and give them this advice. And so they stop talking. Maybe your kids said that to you, like the minute you start giving that advice, they push back. Mom, you don't understand. So listen, there's one thing you take away tonight. Listen more than anything else. And reflect back what you hear. So I gave you a little example. I get that you're angry that I won't let you go to that party. Like, just reflect that back. They're angry. I mean, I don't like hearing no either. So we can just validate that. And when we do that, they feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel more understood. Doesn't mean we have to agree with them. Those are two different things, but their feelings are very real, and they deserve our attention, and for us to see that and seek to understand what is happening with them. And this has been proven, and I have seen this time and again. The moment that they're allowed to express their upsetting feelings without us getting in there and trying to fix things, their anxiety starts going down. They feel that anxiety because they don't have a place where they can talk about it. So I thought that I would do something a little different tonight. And this is some things that my teenage son said to me. He said, and this is a blog post, he said, don't tell me not to feel a certain way. Don't tell me you shouldn't feel stressed. Rather, it's okay to be stressed. Allow me to feel disappointed or upset. And another word of wisdom he had for us is, give me the freedom to voice my own thoughts on things, even if you disagree, and don't, and I am guilty of this still to this day, even though I know. So this is always, it's not like one day we all of a sudden arrive. Don't judge, interrupt, or add your interjections except when necessary. So really, our kids pick up on our judgment or our criticism. And the number one most powerful way to improve our relationship with our kids, and this isn't just our tweens and teens, this is anyone, is to create a safe place for them to talk and express themselves. It doesn't feel good, does it, when I'm sure that we've all had this experience where we've phoned somebody, we've talked to a friend, or we've talked to somebody, and we're sharing what we're struggling with, and they jump in there and they try to fix it. And you kind of hang up and you go, oh, that didn't feel so good. That's not what I really needed. I just wanted somebody to listen. And that's how our kids are. Oops. Key number 3, guide and support them to come up with solutions to their own problems. This is really important. So don't. I thought I'd do it. Don't. Do's and don'ts. So don't. And who relates to this? Don't pelt with questions or press the issue if they aren't ready to talk. Don't you hate it when your kid stops telling you what's going on? And I still tend to do this with my 19-year-old, who she tends to be a little bit more private, and I would do this with her in high school too. I just wanted to know what was going on, and I'd say, tell me about what's going on with your friends. She'd be like, Mom, you're just pelting me with questions. So we don't want to do that. And that can, sometimes we can press an issue because of our own anxiety. So that does not work. That will not open them up and get them to share. They're like cats. And the more that we try to pelt them and, get in their way, they can tend to want to run away and hide under a bed. So don't try to fix or offer advice right away. We want to wait. Let them express those emotions. On the next slide, I'm going to tell you some things you can say, but wait and see if they want it. And don't try to control them by hovering or getting into their business. And also, we can tend to jump in and overfunction and do things that they can do on their own. And we often, without meaning to, we can parent out of fear. And here's another quote from my son. I want more freedom and independence. It's important that you let me make decisions on my own, and let that be okay. So here's what do we do? So those are the things that we don't do. But it's one thing to say don't, but we need to know, what do we do? So in order to help and guide them, we want to ask them. So when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm tempted, I'm feeling anxious about this, I want to tell them what to do, because you know what, we do know. Like, if everybody, wouldn't it be so much easier if everybody would just do what we told them to do? Life would be it would go so much more smoothly, right? But they don't listen at this age. Very rarely have you ever heard your kids say, Mom, you were right. I will tell you, my 26-year-old, my 29-year-old, they say that now. But it took about 10 years to get there. And they will now say, you were right. I wish I would have listened. But not when they're this age. Or it's very rare. So we want to ask them, what do you think you want to do about that? So turn it into a question. If you chose to do that, what might happen? You see, you're getting them to think about it. And you know what? They may not want to answer you right away. And that's okay, because you are planting a seed. And I tell you, they will think about it. What might you do that would help? So you want to help them to actually start solving their own problems. You want them to come up with it. And you know what? They are smart and they have those answers inside of themselves. Do you invite, ask permission. Do you want me to share my thoughts or advice? Or would you prefer I just listen? Or what might I do? What might help you right now? And how can I support you? I have to tell one story. There's a mom that is in a group I lead, and she's okay with me sharing this, but her son was not doing his homework and he was not doing well in school. So I said, why don't we just try a little experiment, and why don't you lay off of him on his homework for 1 week and just see what happens? And sure enough, she did. It was very hard, but she kept her mouth shut. And do you know, he actually did so much better in school because she just allowed him to, to kind of command his own ship, and he wasn't resisting her continually. They were getting these power struggles. Number 4, give freedom to make mistakes and experience natural consequences within boundaries. So here's Charlie, my son, another quote. Let me make mistakes and learn from them. Don't step in. This kind of goes back to what I was saying. Don't step in to rescue me or treat me like I'm not capable of solving my own problems. And what we don't realize when we get in there and we're giving advice, we're rescuing, we're over-functioning, we jump at the first moment of, their struggles, we get in there trying to fix it. We are sending them the message, I don't believe you can handle it. And they, even though we don't say it, they start internalizing that message. And if we want to build their confidence, when we ask those questions and we step back, that is going to build their confidence. And here's a quote from a mom in one of my groups. If there's one thing I could go back and redo parenting my son, it would be to allow him to make mistakes, even if it meant it caused him to fail, and as a result, experience the natural consequences. And she was a mom that said this, and her son is now in a Outward Bound program. And I will say that as well. When I look back in the ways that I enabled my kids, or I got overly involved or over-functioned, it slowed down their development. And it led to more problems actually in the future because they weren't learning those skills and that problem solving that they needed to learn. And sometimes we care so much that our kids don't have to care. And so I want you to really reflect on that. Where might I be caring more about something? And maybe is that feeding my kid not caring? And also, if you have a kid that's a blamer and tends to blame you, that is like that's like a dashboard light that you need to get out of the way more, because you're giving advice so then they can blame you. And if you step back and allow those natural consequences, they are forced to take ownership. I keep doing that here. Okay. Now, boundaries. Boundaries are so important, and we need to have boundaries, and that's a whole nother workshop. But just to touch on it, boundaries actually create freedom. And when we can get clear about our expectations and the rules in our home, we don't need to hover, we don't need to be so strict, we don't need to control, we don't need to yell. It's like an anchor in the storm, and we can ride the waves and have this greater peace. And the natural consequences take care of it themselves, even though, oh my gosh, it is so hard. We don't want to allow those mistakes. We don't want them to have those natural consequences. It's hard. That's why we need support. And expect that they're going to test the boundaries. They are going to, it's kind of like a yard, and think of a fence in a yard, and those boundaries, we want to keep it, in the good and keep out the bad. But we can't be jumping over into our kids' yard all the time and mowing their grass. They're going to grow some weeds in there, and their grass is going to grow high, but they are going to have to learn to take care of those things themselves. So expect it. Don't take it personally. Don't feel like you're failing, and hold the line and allow them to learn from their mistakes. When we hold the line, we don't need to yell. We don't need to treat them like bad kids. If they're making mistakes, they're not bad kids. That's how they learn. Number 5, and this is our final one. Be a role model. This seems so easy, doesn't it? Just to say, oh, be a role model. It's kind of cliche. But we tend to, I want you to ask yourself, where might we be saying something for them to do, but we're not doing it ourselves? Maybe we want them to get off their technology, but we've got our face in our phone all the time. And yet we're harping at them. We can't expect our kids to be responsible if we aren't walking our walk. And it's kind of interesting, I've been reflecting on this in my own life recently, of where I have some gaps and some areas that I need to step it up and be more responsible. Those are the areas that my kids have gaps too. And maybe because I wasn't learning that or living it in my life at that time, that they struggle in those same areas. So it's really good. I mean, and we're always learning, always in process. And I want you to know it is never, ever, ever too late, because our kids are watching us. When we start, rather than like looking at them and wanting to fix them, we can say to them, you know what? I'm working on this myself. You know what? I have a bad temper and I yell. I'm working on that in my own life too. They feel joined. It's not like you have the problem and I've got it all together. It's like we're both working on this in our own lives. How can I support you when I'm learning this as well? It leads to compassion and empathy with our kids and more feeling like there's a connection there because we're both in process. And so ask yourself that question. I want you to think about it. Where might I be? If our room, maybe our room is messy. Maybe we're really disorganized, but we're wanting our kids to be disorganized. So really ask yourself that. And this is very important. Sometimes our own personal issues and experiences come into play when it comes to parenting. And this really can lead to making poor parenting decisions, hindering growth and independence in our kids. So in a group, and when I coach moms, I have them do an inventory. And we talk a lot about the ways we were parented and how that impacts the way we parent our own kids. So go to school on yourself. Where might be some of your unfinished business? Because our behavior greatly influences our kids' behavior. And we want, the way we live our lives, we want to reflect those values to our kids and live them out. And I want you to notice and be curious about the strong emotions you have. When you feel like you have an emotion and it's a 10, be really curious about that. Maybe it needs to be a 5, but it's a 10. Why might that be triggering me so much? And be curious about that. Notice what it is bringing up for you. It might be that whole thing of like how I would feel at a 10 when my daughter was expressing all this anger. And I would get so angry because my family rule growing up was you don't express any anger. You're compliant. And she was very strong-willed. So that was really important for me to flush that out. So what do our kids see when they're watching us? And to really think about that. So here I'm going to get off the screen, let you ask your questions, go into the chat. But I also want to just say to you, and I want you to put in the chat, and then I'll get off. What was helpful tonight? I would love to know. What is one takeaway? We talked about a lot. I could have gone on for another hour. What is one area that you want to focus on? So I would love for you to let me know that. And then I'm going to stop the share right now so I can go to the chat. Okay. Can you all see me now again? I'm not just in the little square. Oh, I love it. I love how much is in the chat. I also want you to know 2 things. If you have some unfinished business, reach out to me. I would love to talk to you. I actually offer a 30-minute complimentary call to all moms that reach out to me and have questions. We do a Zoom call. I'm so passionate about supporting you because this is our heart and our soul are our kids, right? And it matters so much to us. I mean, this this is the most important work we will ever do. And so I want to support you in that. And we are going to start a group that is invitation only. And we are going to invite everybody that signed up for this when we launch it. It's going to be a membership Facebook group, and there's going to be a lot involved with that, and you can find out more, but and we're keeping the cost really low, just so you know, but we want to really make the support available to moms in a really transformational way, a powerful way, a life-changing way. And so we were really trying to brainstorm, how can we do that? So we're gonna create a very intimate group. Whoever that, if you're curious about that, we'll also be sending you more information on that. So just so you know, those things are available to you and to support you. So, okay, questions. I can go back and look at these, so you can write them. Thank you. Lying about the dumbest things. So true. Helena, I think you say Helena. Oh, I love you guys. Oh, these are so, I love the heat here. I know, Stephanie, I do love the heat, but I am a little hot in my house right now. Okay, closed doors, eye roll. Yeah, with wisdom. Okay, good. All right, so put them down there. How do we get them to listen? Okay, but how do we get them to listen to us? Well, we have to listen to them. We have to listen to them first. So we're modeling it. And they're not going to listen to us. It's kind of like, what's that quote that it's kind of like, people don't care about what you know until they know how much you care. And that's very true with our kids. So I would say, when they're not listening, and I don't know exactly, I think it's Aaron, what the situation is, but we want to listen to them. So if they're not listening, we want to sit down with them. And here's the thing, this is something tangible, because I'm kind of thinking of it on the fly. You know what? Whatever the situation is, like I'm noticing. It's just a great one. So you describe the problem. I'm noticing this is happening. This is a problem, and I want to talk about it. So I'm noticing this, and then you can share, and you know, this is how I'm feeling. I'm feeling frustrated about this. I'm feeling frustrated that you're not listening, but I want to find out what's going on with you. So let's sit down and talk about it. And you know what? This doesn't always go well right away, but you're planting seeds, remember? So you want to sit down with them. You want to express what's happening with you, what you're frustrated about, and then you want to say, okay, this is what I want. So it's problem, emotion, it's I. It's not you. I use those I statements. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling this. You can admit to them, I'm not knowing what to do about this. So I want us to sit down. I want to hear what you have to say about this. And this is what I'm expecting. And then you want to actually get their buy-in. So you want to have them, okay, this is what I expect. And you want to hear, what do you think about that? And you want to be flexible. So hear them. And if it gets heated, then say, you know what? And this is hard, I know. But the more that we can practice, the easier it's going to become. It's like anything. It's like strengthening a new muscle. Say, I'm going to walk away. This isn't going well. We're getting back in this. You know, we all do a dance with our kids. And if you're married, with your spouse, with people, we do this dance and it gets very familiar. So we gotta do a different dance step. We have to do something differently. And so then talk about it. They might say, you're so unfair and everybody else is doing it. That's where you said, okay, I hear that. Now I will tell you, not everybody else is doing it. They say that. They'll say, everybody else is going to that concert. And I would say, and this happened with all three of my kids, and I would say, Well, you know what? I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with you taking a train down to a bar at 17, even though they let you in, and hearing a concert. You're not old enough. Everybody else is. Well, sure enough, like all the plans would fall apart and then nobody was going. So they're going to say that, they're going to work it, but you know, try to hear them first. And then that's where boundaries come in too. So if we were doing a boundaries workshop, then I would have everybody would sit down and we would work that through. What are, you know, like pick one area. I don't want you to get off this call and try to feel, you know, like you have to change everything at once. Pick one area and focus on that. So I hope that helps. Let's see, we have ADHD. Okay, very scary. Okay, Jen, tell me kind of, let's say, it was very helpful learning about the brain development. My 13-year-old went from a headstrong toddler. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So, okay, mood swings. Okay, so Jen's saying deal with some moods. Oh, I see another one. What are some thoughts on consequences? So, mood swings. All right, well, mood swings are going to trigger us. So just know they're going to have those mood swings. And one thing I didn't say about the adolescent brain that I meant to say is they've done studies. Kids read, and this is another thing. I'm sure that almost every single one of you has had your kids say, "You're yelling at me," when you're not yelling, or you're mad and you're not mad, because they read facial expressions as angry or upset, even if they're not. Now, I tend to think my kids can read me pretty accurately, but that is something just to know. So they're reacting. They're thinking they're going to be judged. They're thinking they're going to be criticized. And so their moods are going to swing. The less that you react, the better. And you got to pick your battles. So I have a whole blog post on, and I had a lot of people email me about my oldest telling me she hated me and how much I reacted to that. Like I blew. I mean, it was like not pretty. And then when my 16-year-old, my youngest, by the time she came along, she was like, "I hate you." And I was like, "I bet you do. I bet you just really hate me right now." And it totally, you know, I'm like, "You're really angry right now." And she's like, "Yes, I am so angry at you. You're really angry at me right now that I am telling you no. Yes, I am so angry." And then stomp, 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 slam the door. And then later she comes down and she apologizes. But it didn't help with my oldest when I jumped into the ring and I was so emotional. So we just gotta kind of step back and just breathe. If it's really bad, we gotta walk away. And then we gotta kind of decide what are we considering to be disrespectful and what isn't. So that's that boundary thing. If you're a journaler, kind of write down what's acceptable and what's not, and then pick your battles. I would say if your kid is expressing emotions, now this is kind of getting a little deep, but if you have a kid that's really angry, think about that kid might be expressing a lot of anger for the whole family. There's usually one kid that and those are the truth tellers in the family. So in many ways, we're wise to listen to them. Rather than making that anger bad. So the more that you can hear them and listen, it's going to come down. You're going to find, just trust me, just try it. Like try it for a week and see what happens. You're going to start saying that their anger starts coming down. If you listen to them more, they're going to start listening more to you because they're not going to be like dodging, thinking they're going to get criticized. So hopefully that helps. Okay, Virginia, do you suggest we become more silent? That way, when we do talk, they will listen. Yes. I mean, the quick answer is yes. I would say that's why it's so good to have a group too, that I really want to encourage you gals to join this group because, and I'm not just doing this to sell it, because we need to vent. Like, or find that friend you can talk to, because what we can tend to do is we kind of barf on our kids when we're upset. And so we need to be able to take that, and maybe that's, you know, a bad analogy saying barf, but it feels like that. It's like, I'll hold the bucket for you and you can just let it all out and vent and get it out, so you're not going to take it out on your kid. And so if we can step back and just let them express those emotions without, and be quiet, it's going to be really helpful. Okay, how to get them to talk to us. Oh my gosh, because you know what? There's some kids that are going to express a lot and other kids that are going to be more quiet. So you find ways to connect. And I have two. I have one that's extremely expressive, two that were more quiet and not talkers. And the more that I found ways to connect with them when they would talk, the better. So for example, my son, he didn't talk a whole lot. He talks now. There is hope. He talks a lot. But when he was a tween and teen, it was so hard. You know, he wasn't talking to me as much. And that was really hard for me. But he would talk in the car. And he was a baseball player, and we'd have to drive to games. And I would get so jealous because he talked to my husband. And I would say, why is he talking to you? And he'd say, because I shut up and I don't jump in there. And I was not comfortable with the silence because I was so excited I got to be with him. You know, I'd start talking and I'd ask questions and I think, I want to get him talking. And so he's like, oh, like, you are too much, Mom. You know, so that might be one thing. Like, just ask yourself, do they feel forced to talk? Maybe just give a little bit more airspace and wait for them to talk. Go to school on what they like to do. Do they game? Then I would say, sit with them, sit in the room with them. And I will actually say to my daughter, I'm going to sit here, but I'm not going to say a word. Like she isn't game, but if she's watching a show or a YouTube channel and I like get behind her and I'm like hovering and she's like, who's had that happen? And it's like, Mom, get away, you know, from me. But if I could just not hover and say, what you watching? Like, get curious about what they like. Starbucks, my son, he loved to go out for breakfast. And if you have a kid that's quiet, it might take a little time to be quiet and to actually draw, you know, for them to start talking. When your teen texts you about something that is on their mind but will not want to talk to you in person. Stephanie, awesome. That is so great. They actually have journals where I have not done this myself, but I have moms that have done this with their daughters, where they pass a journal back and forth. So the daughter will write in it. And if you're curious about that, I can send you some links of some ones that are really great. My husband's just walking the door. But, you know, so I would take it any way you can get it. If your daughter wants to talk about it, and then you might be able to say, are you comfortable talking about this with me in person? Or, you know, I see we have these great conversations in text. So let me know, you know, what makes you not want to, you can also ask questions like, what makes you not want to talk, or it's your son. Jen just told me it's your son. So I would say then text is great. If he's going to communicate with you through text, that's a great way to connect. And you can invite him, like, or say, I really like that, maybe not love, because then they go, ugh. But you know what? I really like that that you're talking to me. And do you want to talk about this in person? I don't know exactly what it might be, but you can find out about that. It's also a nice question to ask our kids. We don't usually like what they are going to say, but to say to them, you know what don't you like about, what don't you like about the way that I parent? And you can actually, ask them to give you some feedback. It gives them some freedom, and you got to be really careful though. Don't defend. You're just inviting them. You're creating a safe space where they can tell the truth. Okay. Consequences. What is excessive? Great question. I guess it depends on the age. So think about their age. And I think that, and so the younger they are, I also want you to think about, okay, what is the problem that you are concerned about? Because that's going to, that is going to determine actually the action that you're going to take. So for example, I'm trying to think of a good example. If my kid is late for curfew, I'll just tell you what I've done. So if my kid's late for curfew and they don't call me because I can't sleep until they get home, then I don't ground. I just don't ground around being late for curfew the first time. I will talk. I'll say, this is when curfew was. I was scared about where you were. I go to the worst case scenario that the car is sitting in some ditch. And hold on one second, honey, I'm doing my workshop. He's getting ice out of the refrigerator. He just got home. But I will, I said, you know what? Then we talked about it. And she's 19. And so I've had to let that out a little bit. I'm not a crazy fan at staying out till after 1 at 19. But I'll say, you know what? If you're over at your girlfriend's house sitting in the hot tub, I know the mom, they're all good girls. I'll say, text me, ask for more time. She lives a block away. That's a little different. So thinking through that. Now, if they are fighting, you're saying you can't go out, they're leaving, they're sneaking out, that's a whole different ball game. And then I would say that you got to think about pain points and what you can take away. So I'm going to just say to you, email me specific because I feel like I'm being so vague and I really, really want to answer your question. So email me, and then we could even jump on a call and talk about it further. I love that, Adriana, you said you're journaling, and it was cool, and she opened up, so that's a great way. Our daughter is adopted, and we're desperately trying to get her to speak up when she needs and not wait for us to figure it out. That is so wise. I really like that you're saying that, because we also tend to assume we know what our kids need. We jump in there and we assume, and we want to step back, and just asking her that you were even thinking about that, and I think it's Michelle, I can't see her full name, is so wise. And to say, what do you think that you want? What do you want? What do you need? And she may not know. Kids don't know what they want or need. And then maybe you can feed her. Maybe you're already doing this. Feed her a few thoughts. That's where you can say, might you need this? Just put it out there. Because I'm assuming when they're adopted, there's a lot of attachment issues, and also trust, and also believing that they're not going to get their needs met. And so there's fear of, if I put out what I need, if I put out what I want, then I might not get it. And so just really helping her to think about that. And I know that is going to take time, but I love that you're just asking and thinking about that and just asking her. And then okay, you know what? Even normalizing it, it's not okay. It's okay that you don't know what you need even. Maybe let's try a few things. Just inviting her. She may not say it, but I just continually putting it out there. I really, truly believe that she will end up coming to you after a period of time, because it's like that cat again. she's going to know it's safe to come out and you know, get pet, you know, that it's okay and it's safe. How about I give a couple more, you know, I'll give like 5 more minutes. We'll go to 8:10. And then any questions you don't get answered, I will email me, or, you know, I can get back to you. I think it's better if you email me, just because I get so many emails. Okay, let's see. Do you have any workshops? Yes, Adriana, reach out to me, okay? I really, I would love to talk to you, okay? Because the answer is yes to that. Workshops and helping moms with anxiety, absolutely. Anything else? Okay. Yeah, consequences. So anything else on, oh, and you know what? This is really, really powerful. 5-to-1 rule. As I'm getting ready to hang up, I'll tell you this. For every 1 negative, we need 5 positives. So when you think about that, it's like, wow, really sobering. When we think every little thing that our kid feels criticized by, they're hearing that as one thing, we need 5 positives. So I will have Jen send to you the specific affirmation list. I mean, we need to be careful when we affirm our kids that it is directly correlated to something tangible and not just flattery. But I want to challenge all of us to look for what our kids are doing well, to look for those gifts, to look for the effort, to affirm that. You know what? I really appreciated when you helped me out with that. Like, I loved laughing with you yesterday. That was so much fun. You know, like just looking for those little nuggets to affirm them, because what we focus on grows. And if we focus more on the positive, that's going to grow. But if we focus more on the negative, our kids are going to feel criticized and beat down. We think we're helping because we want to help our kids to grow into responsible adults. But what happens is we don't need to. We're pointing out all the things that they're doing wrong, because if you're like me, we're worried that if they don't learn those things, then they're not going to be responsible adults. Well, they need encouragement because their world is stressful and they're going through so many changes. So we need to know that, and we need to really focus on how can we build up this kid. When we're tempted to criticize, look for the positive and affirm that instead. So I am so glad you're here, and I thank you for showing up, and thank you for sharing what was helpful. And reach out to me. It's Cheryl, and I'll put it in right now. It's Cheryl at Moms of Tweens and Teens. You're gonna get the replay. If you don't get the replay, reach out to us, but look in your spam folder for it. You're gonna get some bonus stuff. And then also, if you're interested in that group by invitation, reach out to me about that. But we will send you, once we get that launched, we'll send you the details and the information about that, because I want to support you. We're all in this together. You're not alone. You're normal. You're doing a great job. You showed up here. Just know that every day you are going to battle. You're on the front lines for your kids, fighting for them, trying to do the very best job that you can. You're here and you want to learn and grow and be the best parent that you can be. So just take that in, know that, be compassionate with yourself. We all need that when we feel like we're failing, we're not doing a good enough job. We need to just do this. We just need to say, I'm doing a good job. I'm doing the best I can. And when the more that we can have compassion for ourselves, the more we're going to have compassion on our kids. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, everybody. And Yeah, add your email address to my contacts, okay? And please let me know what was helpful. Adriana, you are so welcome. And God bless you too. And we can do this, right? So, all right. Love you gals. Thank you for coming. And please reach out to me if you need anything. All right. Talk to you later.